Part 1. Agony.
The 27 Club.
A shocking number of rock and roll legends, all of whom I admire greatly, died tragically at age 27. Janis Joplin, Kurt Cobain, Jimi Hendrix, Amy Winehouse. These people, robbed of the ability to live out the full potential of their lives, make up what's known as the 27 Club. A few years ago, not long after my own 27th birthday, my world as I knew it ended. I was leaving an afternoon appointment in Glendale, California, when I received a text from my dear friend Sharon telling me that I'd been caught. I'd told a lie about a friend and I'd been found out. This text was my official ousting notice from my beloved group of friends, all of whom I'd come to think of as my everything. The lie I told was sent to Sharon, and it sounded like this.
Ellen told me that I should disappear.
Ellen had never told me that I should disappear. When Ellen found out what I said, she responded with, "I would never tell you to disappear." This comeback was followed by a sad face emoji. Then she said, "I guess all the times I was being nice to you, you really just thought I was being mean." That was the last I heard from her, or from any of them. To say these people were my friends is an understatement. These were my people. They were my family. My fellow silly artists and people I'd fall asleep laughing with on the living room floor. Although the lie I told was fairly innocuous and not at all mean-spirited, it hit all of Ellen's specific areas of insecurity and thus was probably the most hurtful thing I could have done to her. That, combined with all the former traumas of each member of this pieced-together family, resulted in me being exiled. I spent hours and days and months wondering why on earth I couldn't have just held it together and not done that. The truth is, we all have a stupid little monster inside of us that comes out when we're in pain. It can be the lying and exaggeration monster, or the lashing out monster, or the passive-aggressive monster, or the everyone reminds me of my ex-girlfriend monster. The day I told that lie, my terrified little monster woke up, reared its ugly head, and reminded me that I, just like everyone else, have the ability to act out of character and hurt those I love the most. After reading Sharon's text, the world dissolved around me. 2 words formed in front of my face.
Bad person.
Those 2 words were my new identity. The description others would use when speaking of me. What else could I be called after what I'd done? At this point, you might find yourself thinking, she didn't really do anything that bad. Allow me to paint a clearer picture of how bad I believed myself to be. Before any of this happened, Sharon, who loves all things dark and disturbing, told me about the Slender Man.
Said it. Sharon's apartment. Have you heard of the Slender Man?
What's that?
It's a myth about this weird, skinny guy with really long arms and legs who steals children.
Is he real?
Maybe. He might be.
Whoa.
But these 2, 12-year-old girls thought that he was for sure real, and that he was, coming to get them, and that if they didn't want him to steal them, that they had to kill their best friend. So they did.
They killed their best friend?
Well, no, they just stabbed her a lot, but she almost died.
Oh my God.
They made a documentary about it.
We watched it. It was exactly as disturbing as I expected.
Isn't this awesome?
This is freaky.
Would you ever do that to me?
Try to kill you?
Yeah.
Of course not.
Even if the Slender Man was going to take you?
I would never do that to you.
After reading reading Sharon's texts, one of the first thoughts I had was,
I am worse than those 12-year-old girls.
the ones that tried to stab their best friend in the back 12 times.
I basically stabbed Ellen in the back 20 times.
I thought, for the first time ever, that taking my own life might be the only option, as I now had nothing. Amidst my incomprehensible texts and voicemails to Sharon begging to be forgiven, I stumbled towards my car. Before I got there, though, I was stopped by a young Mormon missionary.
Hi. Can I tell you about the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints? Well, can I at least give you this pamphlet?
Okay,
Have a beautiful day.
thanks, I won't.
I'm sorry?
I just lost everything, so I won't have a beautiful day.
Well, maybe if you let Jesus Christ in
Jesus
your heart.
would love someone like me.
That's not true. Jesus loves
I'm
everyone.
a bad person. Satan might love me, but not Jesus.
Well, maybe if you let me explain the foundations of
Fuck you!
I got in my car and drove mindlessly. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know if I was going to drive off a cliff. I just drove, ignoring every don't text and drive sign. I shouted at Siri to send endless text messages to the friends I'd hurt, asking to be forgiven, or for some chance to explain myself, or receive some confirmation that I'd be let back in. They never responded. Before I knew it, it was dark, and I was 300 miles up the coast of California, right next to Big Sur. I got out of my car and walked up to one of the cliffs looking out over the ocean. The stars were reflected in the surf, creating the dizzying illusion that I was surrounded by undulating sky. I felt like I was seeing the universe. I was reminded of the lyrics to my favorite Janis Joplin song.
One of these mornings, be proud and fair. Put on my wings, gonna try the air, cause it looks like everyone in this whole round world is down on me. Down on me.
I felt the presence of Janis, Kurt, Amy, all those artists that had reached their 27th year and decided not to go on. They were with me in the stars and the waves and the cliffs. I felt their pain and knew that I could succumb to the same thing, but that I didn't have to. In that moment, I made the decision not to join the 27 Club. That night, I stayed in a yurt on a middle-aged woman's tulip farm.
Do me a favor, kid. Don't write me any reviews on Airbnb, no thank you notes, no pictures on social media, no nothing. I'm not supposed to have land here. And if the feds find out I'm running an Airbnb, they'll take away my tulip.
The feds?
Just don't do it, kid, or you'll be sleeping in the park.
I spared her the rest of my story and spent the rest of my night in her yurt making lists. The first one read,
Things to do.
find a therapist,
Tell Mom and Dad I ruined my life.
Ask Mom and Dad if I can live in the basement until friends are willing to take me back.
Write apology letters.
Book plane ticket back to New York.
The second one read,
Reasons to live.
dogs,
Other animals.
Seeing my play on Broadway.
Things might get better.
Lord of the Rings.
Just got a new tattoo.
Seeing my published book in a bookstore.
These lists were the first tiny baby steps in a process of healing, growth, unbelievable pain, moments of despair, moments of love, and attempts to turn my pain into art. One of those attempts was the idea to make some weird art about what came after my 27th year, aka the year I decided to keep living. So, here's some art.
Trump's America.
It's January 22nd, 2017. Donald Trump has been in office for 48 hours. I spent 6 of those 48 hours marching the streets of New York wearing a pink hat with cat ears, chanting "My body, my choice," and collecting pamphlets detailing Trump's plans to cut funding for women's health care. Closer examination of said pamphlets has led me to make a gynecologist appointment off of ZocDoc for as soon as possible, requesting every test that my now threatened Obamacare will cover. 2 days and 67 minutes on the F train later, I'm sitting in the doctor's office, staring in terrified silence at the stirrups at the end of the table. As this practice shares its office with the podiatry practice, I attempt to distract myself by examining the posters on the wall detailing the difference between plantar's warts and athlete's foot. A doctor enters holding a clipboard. "Hi, honey. I'm Dr. Abbas." I take a quiet moment to judge her. As this is the person who is about to determine the health of my vagina, I feel a certain righteousness in my critique of her emerald green fingernails and the smudge of her eyeliner.
Nice to meet you.
You were supposed to put that on.
Oh,
That's why the nurse gave it to you.
but, I mean, don't you just need access to my lower half?
Yes, that's why I need you to wear the gown.
I'm confused.
It's okay to be nervous.
I'm not nervous.
It's a very vulnerable
I'm
thing.
a feminist OBGYN, so don't make me nervous.
Very well. I'll give you a moment to change. The irony is not lost on me. She is about to be all up in my business. Closer than any lover, probably, and yet she gives me privacy to remove my shirt and put on a hospital gown. Why are you depressed? You've marked depression on your medical history form.
Oh, I mean, isn't everyone at least a little depressed?
Have you experienced any depression lately?
A little.
Well, what triggered the depression?
Donald Trump got elected.
The silence that follows is one of deep understanding, the wordless acknowledgement of a communal loss. My judgment for her fades and is replaced by empathy. Does she feel her religious freedom threatened? Does she, like me, fear the loss of her right to marry? She puts her hand on my knee, a gesture far more intimate than I expect from most doctors. And then she says, "Don't worry, honey. Paul Ryan is a good man, and he'll make sure everything is okay." My judgment flies through the roof. Paul Ryan? Is she crazy? The person from whom I'm about to receive a pelvic exam supports Paul fucking Ryan? As I scramble to form a response to Dr. Abbas, whom I suddenly despise, my thoughts are transported to a month earlier. It was a Wednesday matinee at Hamilton on Broadway. I am gainfully employed selling t-shirts and other overpriced kitsch. On this particular day, I was stationed in the mezzanine, otherwise known as the nosebleed section.
The mezzanine is a prime breeding ground for angry or otherwise insane individuals. And this day was packed with them. People who felt personally victimized by the stairs they had to climb. Obnoxious groups of teenagers who kept on bumping into each other while texting. Moms and daughters whose strained relationships dissolved into screaming matches in front of my booth. And Republican politicians who stumble unwittingly into a show about immigrant empowerment.
During wave after wave of said insanity, I was approached by a quiet middle-aged couple.
What a respectable, conscientious pair of theatergoers. These are good people.
As they perused my booth, their backstory flooded my mind.
They were students at Columbia University when they met, both majoring in social work. After graduating, they both joined the Peace Corps. He was sent to Rwanda, she Cambodia. But their love remained strong through the distance, and upon reuniting, they married and started a nonprofit striving to enrich the lives of underprivileged students of New York. And now here they were at Hamilton, a show celebrating people of all different backgrounds, colors, and orientations. How fitting.
We could get that one for Josh.
Oh, God, no. That one will make him look like a fag.
In the whirlwind of my shock and disappointment and my inability to judge character, all I could muster was an overly loud and sloppy, "Hey!"
There was a weird silence. Then,
Please excuse my wife. She's been drinking.
I was not going to let Dr. Abbas fool me the way those two homophobes did. Before I can express my dislike in Dr. Abbas's taste in house speakers, she begins the most confusing conversation known to mankind.
Are you sexually active?
Not really.
When was the last time you were penetrated?
Never.
Never?
Not really. I'm a lesbian.
How do you know? How do you know you've never been penetrated?
Because there's never been a penis in my vagina?
Are you sure?
I'm confused.
Well, sometimes someone has been penetrated and they don't realize it.
Are you asking me if I've been assaulted?
No, honey, why would you think
Because
that?
how else would I have heterosex without realizing?
That's not what I meant.
Despite my ability to argue endlessly, I let it go. And I recline onto the table. I feel mocked by each crinkle of the weird doctor table paper. I put my feet into the stirrups. It's just awful.
Because your sexual history doesn't include much penetrative intercourse, I'm going to use the smallest sized clay. It's much less painful than the big one.
Thanks.
I'm going to give you a quick ultrasound.
I'm starting to think that maybe this won't be so bad. That's when what can only be described as a goo-covered curtain rod is shoved into the depths of my wound. My dislike for Dr. Abbas is now hatred. I hate her.
You all right, honey?
You're a bad person.
I can't hear you.
Nothing, I'm great.
Just keep breathing.
This is the small clamp?
Yes, honey, much less painful than the big one.
As she probes around, I wonder angrily how hetero women could possibly enjoy this sensation.
Why are you actually depressed?
What?
What's the real reason you're so sad?
I told you.
But that's not really it, is it?
Is this really the best time to be talking about this? I lost all my friends.
And then I begin to laugh and cry. Because in this moment, I realize things couldn't possibly be any worse. Not only is my cervix being ultrasound probed, I'm being forced to talk about the most painful subject of my life.
Oh,
And it was all my fault. I made a mistake, and they didn't forgive me.
that sounds complicated.
It's not. Have you heard about the Slender Man?
You must have really been hurting.
It was. And so I hurt the people I loved the most.
Well, that's what people do sometimes.
I just wish they knew that I was.
Dr. Abbas removes the ultrasound torture weapon. My whole body breathes a sigh of relief. I sit up, and then she hugs me.
You're all done.
Okay.
Promise me you'll be good to yourself. We're in Trump's America now. We need kindness more than ever.
Okay. Do you really like Paul Ryan?
Yes, honey, I do.
But he's terrible. He's a bad.
There's no such thing as a bad person.
I nod my head as Dr. Abbas releases her grip on me, silently agreeing to hold out hope that there is some goodness in the world, whether it be in myself, in other people, in Paul Ryan, or in the small clamp. It's not as painful as the big one.
Object permanence.
It usually goes like this.
I step onto the one train, eager to continue rereading the Fellowship of the Ring for the 23rd time. Moments after stepping onto the train and opening my book, I notice a little pair of eyeballs staring at me. These eyeballs are attached to a tiny little head, which is strapped to the front of its parent. That's when the intoxicating feeling of power hits me. I know I'm about to do what I do best. Tingling with excitement, I lower my book and raise my hands to my face. I take a deep breath and remove my hands simultaneously and turn on my face with a visual expression of surprise. On a good day, the child across from me will laugh, delighted, and then stare at me waiting for more. I then raise my hands to my face again, and this process repeats itself until one of us gets off the train. What makes me a champion at peekaboo is my ability to make horrifyingly stupid faces. What makes me enjoy it, though, goes deeper than my desire to make a child laugh.
Young children love peekaboo because their teeny developing brains are learning to understand object permanence. Object permanence is the understanding that someone or something exists even when it cannot be seen. When a baby's parent leaves the room, until this understanding is developed, the baby has no idea that they will ever return. They will scream and cry when their parent walks into the kitchen or the bathroom, and then squeal with joy when it returns. These principles are what make peekaboo so exciting for them. I mean, a human face is present, it goes away seemingly forever, and then, surprise, it's still there.
At age 26, over 2 decades older than most peekaboo participants, I found myself in a never-ending phase. I recently relocated to Southern California, where I quickly found myself in the most intimately close friendship of my life. John was the coolest person I've ever met.
He's nearing 40, more than a decade older than those around him.
He was a vlogger with a large internet following.
Which made him all the more seductive than he already was.
He and I were inseparable. Before things went horribly wrong, a lot of our conversations sounded like this.
Setting, living room floor.
Stop saying the word chode!
It is my God-given right to say chode as many times as I want.
The word chode makes me feel like I want to vomit.
Chode.
Okay, here's what I need you to do. I need you to go into the backyard and stab yourself with a pitchfork.
I have a dare for you.
Don't change the subject.
See if you can wash all the dishes without getting your hands
No, I'm adding chode to the list of words that we can't say.
And you can't wear gloves.
I'm
either.
still talking about chodes.
You're saying chodes way more than I am.
It's your fault.
There were also serious conversations that sounded like this.
Setting, under the lemon tree in the backyard.
Have you ever had someone you love die?
No, not really. You?
My friend killed herself
Whoa.
2 years ago.
Holy shit, dude.
I'm still really sad about it.
Of course. Death is a form of abandonment.
I guess.
It is. Especially suicide.
Do you think about death a lot?
It scares me.
Me too.
I promise I will never do that to you.
Die?
Abandon you.
Before I knew it, we were enmeshed. We felt like one person. Our conversations started to sound like this.
Setting, text messages.
I haven't heard from you for 2 hours. Is everything okay?
I was at the dentist.
And you didn't invite me?
One evening, after returning from a weekend trip, John asked me to accompany him on a drive to the post office.
Setting. John's car with, heated seats.
Couldn't you just mail your red check from the mailbox on the corner?
I like to move around when having difficult conversations. It's like how a baby likes to be bounced when they're upset. It's comforting.
Are we having a difficult conversation?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Can we agree to try seeing each other only once a week?
I guess.
It'll be healthier that way.
Okay.
As long as you can respect my needs, we'll be friends for a long time.
I was so determined to comply, but something felt ominous. My resolve lasted maybe 24 hours. After that, I was hit with a feeling that can only be described as homesickness. I began to question John's existence.
Setting. John's doorstep. Midnight.
So, when am I going to see you again?
Next week, I already told you
Oh,
that.
I can't wait that long.
Try.
John closes the door. I knock on the door. John opens the door.
I need to sleep.
Can I stay for just 5 more minutes?
I felt myself growing steadily more annoying with each interaction, but felt no ability to control or remedy my behavior. At the time, I was working as a nanny for a 2-year-old girl. I'd watch her scream, "Mama!" and bang her fists against the closed door to the room where her mother was trying to work. She'd throw her head back in comical toddler grief and hiccup with sobs. During one of these tantrums, I was struck by the nauseating similarity between her and myself. We were feeling the same thing. One night, I was leaving John's house after a hangout session that sounded like this.
Setting. John's living room. Again.
Are you gonna finish your last piece of that spicy tuna roll?
You can have it. Put on that episode of South Park where Kanye West is a gay fish.
As I drove away from John's house, panic rose in my chest. I felt insane. The conversation in my head sounded like this.
Setting. Interior of my brain.
Drive home.
I need to go back.
No, why? You don't need John. You're an adult. Grow up.
What if I never see him again?
Something's wrong with you.
Something's wrong with this.
Shut up!
I have to go back.
Don't you dare turn this car around.
What if I never see him again?
Stop saying that.
He might think that he starts to hate me overnight.
He won't.
He might.
He won't.
We left on a bad note. I have to go back and fix it.
I pulled the car over and sat shaking by the side of the road. And then I turned around and drove back to John's house. I knocked on the door and, surprise, he was still there, but he was not happy with me. That was the slippery moment where I started ruining everything.
The toddler's gaze follows me as I exit towards the door of the slowing train. As I leave, it occurs to me, does this child wonder if he'll ever see me again? Does that thought scare or sadden him? Or does he know already that some things can't be held on to?
Part 2.
The part where I tried to face the horizon, spread out my arms and say, I love and accept myself exactly as I am. And then I realized that's not possible.
The triggered. For the first 6 months or so after my loss, every moment was like this.
I miss them. 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 I miss them.
Thanks to hard work and the healing power of time, most days aren't that difficult anymore. However, I have become a
Trigger monster!
The weirdest, most mundane, unlikely things can still transform me from a functioning human being into a writhing, twitchy mess. The truth is that when you lose someone or something you love, it leaves a hole in you the exact size of the thing you lost, and it's so easy to let your surroundings remind you of that. Some of my favorite triggers include
Children!
Good coffee.
bad coffee is okay.
Airports.
My phone, Sharpie.
Comfortable couches!
Uncomfortable couches are okay.
Sand.
Socks.
Food delivery!
Bags!
And literally any animal.
Now, having joined the ranks of the triggered, as I like to call us, I have such compassion for anyone who has felt surrounded and suffocated by constant reminders of your distress. To everyone I rolled my eyes at, you were right. No one's pain should be mocked or minimized by anyone else. That said, in the spirit of finding humor within my own personal tragedies, I would like to share with you some of my more ridiculous triggers.
Sunshine.
While everyone else is outside enjoying the beautiful weather, I've been known to hide under my own personal rain clouds, spiraling into
All those times I had in the sun before I ruined my life and lost everything, like the time out in the water, the time that we went hiking, or the time that I said, oh my god, the sun is in my eyes, please just rain.
Sushi!
Pro tip, if you're triggered by sushi, avoid the prepackaged food section of Trader Joe's.
Passenger seat of my car.
It is so easy while I'm driving to look to my right and remember the people who used to sit there.
Febreze.
No good excuse for this one.
music. The first song that broke my 8-month silent streak was These Dreams by Heart.
Speaking of music,
So what kind of music do you like? This is Alex. I met her through work. I met Michael and Russell at work too. This is Logan. Alex introduced us to each other, but sometimes I think she wishes she hadn't because
You can't buy that the one ring on Etsy and then wear it to Comic-Con because if you put it on, then you'll disappear and Sauron will know where you are.
I've been saying that for years.
they're a lot. Although they know nothing of what I've been through, these are my first friends since LA. One day, I accompanied Alex to a record shop in the East Village. That's when she asked me what kind of music I like. Hearing that from her, someone who I'd gotten to know closely over the past few months, felt like being asked what color your eyes are by someone who's looking right at you. For as long as I could remember, my specific taste in music had been one of the biggest parts of my identity. I didn't know how to answer her.
I used to like Jefferson Airplane, I guess.
Yeah, but what about now?
I like that song that Justin Bieber sings in Spanish. I like it because I can't really understand it. So it doesn't remind me of anything bad.
I thought you spoke Spanish.
I do, just not as good as I speak English.
So you like top 40s?
I don't know. It's not really. The truth was I hadn't listened to music in 8 months. Every song that I had ever known and loved had become entwined in the painful memories and experiences of the past year. To avoid the crushing grief that music brought on, I filled my ears only with Lord of the Rings audiobooks and audio for Parks and Recreation. I avoided any public spaces that might be playing music. Coffee shops and clothing stores were off limits, and my phone was constantly out of data from playing Netflix through my earphones while I walked. Until that afternoon in the record store with Alex, this had seemed like an acceptable solution to my problems. But then, watching Alex rifle through those boxes of dusty records, it occurred to me that staying away from music couldn't be the solution to my problems. I couldn't avoid music forever.
There's this weird-ass Jefferson Starship album called Blows Against the Empire that my dad taught me to love. The B-side chronicles a group of hippies who hijack a starship, flee the planet Earth, and create a commune in outer space. I played it once for my friend Gemma, and she didn't really get it, and I didn't really appreciate that, so I didn't play it for anyone else, until I met John. You remember John, right? I've talked about him a lot.
Setting. John's gross living room couch, which Ellen calls the sex couch. He and I are on the sex couch, and we are listening to a 17-minute song by Genesis.
That was a really great song.
Yeah. Sometimes when I listen to that song, I imagine a wizard running through a field.
He got me.
You have really good taste in music, especially for a girl.
I was so flattered.
Thank you.
I didn't know girls could like rock and roll.
I was so flattered.
Thank you. Can I play you Blows Against the Empire?
I don't have the energy to talk to you anymore, but 45 minutes worth of music I can do.
For the next 45 minutes, he shushed me whenever I spoke over the music, contradicting himself only to murmur words like,
Outstanding.
or
Beautiful.
he groaned happily as Grace Slick crooned, "You're old and your hands are gray." He swayed his head from side to side. At the end, he said,
Wild.
he got it. Once I lost contact with John, music became an immediate and intense trigger. It got to the point where someone could twang a single note on a banjo string and I'd start flailing.
One time,
I was at a routine chiropractor appointment, and Dr. Kerr had just coerced my neck into alignment. I was alone in the room, having been ordered to lie still for a few minutes, when... Big wheels, I rush! I had often listened to having deep talks about life. I crammed my fingers into my ears in an attempt to block out the song and the memories in the circle both, but I could still hear like the guitar solo pounding on the inside of my head. It was a suction sound that told someone that the millisecond when my fingers were removed to go burst the sound of the oh my gosh, I began slamming my feet against the table, and just for good measure, I moved my head from side to side so that my hair would swish against the pillow frame and let it a white noise.
What's going on?
Nothing, I'm fine.
are you having a seizure?
A little.
He had to realign my neck as I had not held still as directed. Coworkers became reluctantly used to my desperate bellows to change the song. Friends understood that if I showed up to a coffee date with a limp, it was likely a troublesome song had come on in the grocery store and I'd sprained my ankle fleeing. Strangers cowered in fear from me on the subway as I berated young men playing AC/DC aloud from their phone for
Subjecting me to emotional distress on my commute.
One time, this happened.
Setting. Me and another woman on a maybe date at a place that isn't sure if it's a cafe or a 70s bar. It's Christmas, so I'm trying to fight off that I'm single on a holiday feeling.
I think that music is a disrespectful and unnecessary part of our culture.
What culture?
Our culture.
Robin concert last week.
I'm more into nature sounds right now.
I'm gonna go.
That fall, Alex was sent on a work trip to Durham, North Carolina. Itching for some travel, I tagged along. We were by Heart came on the radio. Immediately, I was across the memory of listening to the same song when picking John up from LAX. I felt my descent into the all too familiar spiral.
Oh my god, this song is a jammer! I don't like this song. Can we turn it off? Why? I love this song. It reminds me of, I just find it triggering.
But then for the first time, the conversation in my head sounded like this.
Are you really going to let some asshole take your music from you?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
The more I protested, the louder Alex's singing became.
These dreams go on when I close my eyes. Every second of the night. Yeah! These dreams that sleep when it's cold outside. Every moment I'm awake, the further I'm away.
By the final notes, the song belonged to me again. That was just one song. All of that work for one song. Think about how many songs a typical person knows.
The music came back to me on its own when it was ready. Maybe they will too.
Part 3.
I am finally ready to say things as they are and not make them sound better or different than they were.
The amygdala.
This is my amygdala.
The amygdala is the Jewish grandmother of the brain. It's a pestering safety net that says,
Fool me once.
and wags its finger at you. If you trip running down the stairs and you think,
Maybe I should walk instead of run.
the next time you approach a staircase, that is your amygdala talking.
My amygdala likes to tell me two things very loudly. The first one is,
Don't trust anyone. They will abandon you.
the second one is,
Don't tell anyone anything. It will make them hate you.
these loud-ass messages have created unfortunate situations that look like this.
Setting. One train platform. Logan is getting on the train.
See you later.
He steps into the train car and I begin hyperventilating. In one impressive motion, I grab him and take him off the train car. The doors close. He falls backwards onto the platform, me sobbing into his shirt.
Don't leave me!
I'm just going to Trader Joe's.
Or this.
Setting. Bar. Michael and I are having a drink after work. I am sweating profusely and my hands are balled into fists.
What's up?
Nothing, I'm great.
You look kind of...
I've never been better!
Hangouts with new friends isn't fun or sustainable, so I decided to see a therapist to help me not be such a mess. She taught me some tools to quiet my amygdala. These include listing 3 things I'm grateful for each morning and going for runs as a form of active meditation. She also suggested I keep a journal documenting my use of said tools and noting the results.
June 10th.
Dear Journal, I've started a daily gratitude practice. Every evening, I take time to focus on the things that I am grateful for. But as much as I try to force my thoughts to my friends and family, I just have unending gratitude for my Nintendo Switch. And it just brings me unending joy in a way that no living thing could. I feel bad about it, but that's my truth. Those 3 Amazon gift cards were wisely spent.
June 30th.
Dear Journal, my amygdala was driving me insane today, so I decided to go for a run. I put on my free leggings and my shirt that says, "You are filled with determination," because I guess I am, and that bandana with the tacos on it. I was also wearing my orange running shoes that I got from Goodwill that are like 2 sizes too big, so I always trip when I wear them. So I was focusing on keeping my feet up while I ran. But then I switched to focusing on meditating while I was running. As soon as I did that though, my big ass shoe hit this tree root and I went flying! But it's really hot and it hasn't rained in a while, so the ground is all dust. So when I fell, it was more of a ploof I got right back up, though, and kept running because doing so felt like a metaphor for my life. I quickly noticed, though, that people were starting to react to me strangely. One woman even crossed to the other side of the running path. I thought maybe they were just intimidated by my no-nonsense, when you knock me down, I get the bump back up again. When I looked in the mirror, I guess when I ploofed, all of that dust went up into the air and then stuck to my sweaty head. It looked like I had covered myself in orange self-tanner, and then my sweat had created these rivulets through the dust. It looked like my face was covered in these gross river sweat beds. I had ripped my free leggings and my knee was bleeding, and I must have gotten some of that blood on my hands because there was a red, murdery splotch this here across my forehead. And to top it all off, my bandana had come loose and was flapping around on the top of my head like some dumb exotic bird feathers. I looked so dumb.
July 18th.
I tried to tell Alex what happened in LA because apparently it's important to do so. I guess keeping it all inside makes everything bigger. I'm too scared though. I was about to tell her, but then suddenly my amygdala chimed in and shut it all down, so instead I told her this story about a time that a chihuahua chased me on a razor scooter. I think she was super confused though, because I did build it up like it was going to be something really big. I'm too scared though. I'm not even sure if it's just a matter of saying everything out loud or if it's a trust thing. I'm too scared to tell her about therapy. She sent me this text message once saying that I was really well adjusted. I'm scared that if she knows that I went to therapy, she wouldn't think that anymore. I'm too scared to tell her that I'm starting to realize that I might not be entirely at fault in the loss of my friends. I've alluded to her so many times that I did something that drove them all away, explaining to her that the situation is so much more complicated than that I was driven to dire straits because John was abandoning me, that those friends were perhaps unkind is just too scary and unimaginable. I'm too scared to tell her about situations like this.
Setting, Los Angeles Comic-Con 2016. A deserted area in a convention center, and I'm talking to Marcy, my current girlfriend.
You cheated on me with John?
I'm so sorry. He made me do it.
Yes.
Setting, my apartment in Glendale.
I want to be in an open relationship.
I want to be monogamous.
You'd still be my primary. It's just that I'm in love with John, and he told me he loved me too. But I also love you.
You can't date John and still be my girlfriend. Or this.
Setting, FaceTime.
I had a threesome with John.
Again?
Just listen for a second.
I forgave you for cheating on
Just
him.
listen! It was horrible. I think he's a bad person.
Don't make excuses. I'm too scared to tell her about the things that he did to Marcy. I'm too scared to tell her that he messages women 20 years younger than him and uses them for sex. I'm too scared to tell him that I didn't listen to Marcy and that I finally understand why women don't come forward in the Me Too movement. I'm too scared to tell her that I was paid $200 to change a powerful man's sheets so that he could abuse his power with young women. I'm too scared to tell her that I found ways to justify his behavior because I needed him. I'm too scared to tell her that I miss him, that I still send him birthday wishes every year, even though I'm sure that he blocked me from his phone. I'm too scared to tell her that I miss him, even though I am horrified by him, that if I tell the truth, I'm scared that I'll never see him again. I'm scared to tell her that I want to see him again. Does everybody feel this way?
August 7th.
Dear Journal, I'm babysitting for another 2 hours. The children are already asleep, thank God. I made a note in my planner to journal about my amygdala, but I don't want to, because I don't want to think about those things.
more hurtful than helpful. The thing about therapists, though, at least the good ones, is that they're what Gollum would call tricksy. They know more about the inner workings of the human brain than their patients do, and will often lead you to moments of great healing without you realizing that's what they're doing. About 2 weeks after writing my final journal entry, I found myself in the following situation.
Setting, couch, messy apartment. 2 people playing Super Mario Brothers on Nintendo Switch.
Jump on my head. I'll launch you onto the next platform and we can get the 3rd big coin.
Wait, hey, before we do that, can I just tell you?
Listen, get the coin first. You're not launching me correctly. Don't go into the bubble. I'll fall off the mushroom and then we'll both be dead.
Too late. Now that we're dead, can I just tell you something?
I told her. She listened. We're still friends.
Healthy relationships.
Unhealthy relationships are so fun. They're fun in the same way that the Superman roller coaster at Six Flags is fun. Which is to say, not fun at all. I went on that hellish ride once when I was about 14. It went vaguely like this.
1. I stood in line for 2 hours with my friends.
2, we ride to the top. We're admiring the sun-bleached tops of the various rides, but we're also laugh-sobbing a little because we don't know if we're going to have a great time or if we're going to die.
We dropped so far for so long at such a steep angle that we were practically upside down. I enter a primal fight for survival.
4. After the first drop, the peaks and drops are so much fun that my tummy flips in a fun, tickly way.
5. This process repeats itself maybe 10 times throughout the course of the ride. It is a constant and dramatic shift between joy and misery, and good God, it is exhausting, but also I sort of want to wait 2 hours in line to do it all again. We didn't pay for those passes that let you skip the line.
The ups of unhealthy relationships are addictive. The downs are dramatic and so painful, but the ups are euphoric and they make the downs feel worth enduring. When I first started forming healthy relationships, I was bored as shit.
It felt like I was riding on a kiddie car going like 3 miles per hour on some oval-shaped track that someone's uncle put down. That's because, if I'm telling the truth, not all of my conversations with John were about chodes.
I'm in the honest section of this piece now.
I was very used to this.
Going up.
Setting, John's house. I was with a friend at Disneyland who was visiting from the East Coast, but I made an excuse to leave because John asked if I could come and hang out. I dropped everything and drove 90 minutes from Anaheim to his place.
We should have a 4G. We can find 3 women who have sex with us and pass them between us.
Was he getting aroused?
That would be so hot. If I ever had a 4G, I could retire from sex forever. That's like my ultimate fantasy.
Like, wouldn't it be a 5G? Because it'd be you and me plus 3 women.
Yeah, but you and I wouldn't touch each other.
Is that a Super Nintendo by your TV?
You're such a cool girl. I can't just talk to anyone about my ultimate fantasies.
The peak, setting, a party.
Yeah.
Hey, wanna lick my butthole?
You can say anything to that girl!
Sit down. Setting, same parties. I am in a vacant room trying to make myself cry long enough for John to come in and notice.
Do you want me to go get John?
She's crying? Great. Let her. If she wants to bring her dark side into my space, that's her own shit to deal with, not mine.
Was he talking about me?
Yeah. Going up.
10 minutes later, same party.
Hey, can I talk to you for a second?
Yep.
And I know I'm a piece of shit, but you don't have to be an asshole about it.
What did he say?
The peak.
Setting the sex couch.
Mwah! I love you.
Or this.
Setting Ellen's house. Ellen is so cool, and I have a cat in my lap.
Wow! My cat really likes you. And she doesn't like anyone.
Setting a theater.
Your play was incredible. I think you're one of the most amazing artists I've ever met.
Oh my god. Thank you.
I draw, but my art is shit.
Don't say that.
I think you're a better writer than John.
Really?
Yeah. I think his blog is badly written, but please don't tell anyone.
The down.
Setting Ellen's house. Midnight. She is trying to smash her head against the corner of a door frame. She is screaming.
I hate myself!
She smashes her head, and I tackle her to the ground. She remains in child's pose on the run.
I'm trying not to hurt myself.
Just keep screaming.
Does blood wash out of fabric?
I run out of the house. I drive to John's place. A letter addressed to me from Ellen.
Holy shit, girl. You saved my life. You are so good. I hope you know that no matter what, you are good. Let's be best friends forever, okay? Down.
A text message from Ellen.
I would never tell you to disappear. It was all actually really dangerous. For the first time in my life, I have healthy friends and relationships. More often than not, healthy relationships sound like this.
Hey, want to watch a movie?
Sure.
We watch a movie.
That's the end of the scene! You see why I was confused. It turns out that the healthy friendships also have big ups. Those ups look like this.
Setting my New York City apartment.
Thank you for coming to my Hanukkah party, you guys. I wrote face paint.
Can you make my face green? I love green.
Someone write fly, you fools, on my forehead.
You know that face paint is great for your pores.
There's nothing dangerous about face paint. It even washes out fabric.
Middle Earth.
I recently made the casual decision to just get over all of this and be all better. The conversation in my head sounded like this.
Why are you choosing to still let that stuff bother you? It was 3 years ago.
I can't help it.
Get over it.
Obviously, this is not the therapist recommended way to go about things. The thing is, I have more than once been compared to a mule because I have the tendency to be incredibly stubborn and unflinching. I have been known to drag out my soapbox and argue anyone to death on anything I have even the slightest opinion on until they literally wave a white sock in my face like a flag. One time in high school, I had an argument with a friend about the lyrics to a song from The Wizard of Oz that lasted for 3 years. In the end, we were both wrong, but I felt like I won because I never backed down. Being the mule that I am, I kept up my casual decision making. The conversation in my head started to sound like this.
I'm starting to think John wasn't very nice.
Who cares? Don't think about it. You're over it.
To prove to myself how over it I was, I recently met up with Diane. I met Diane in LA through John. Although she and John were very close and often slept together, she was always on the outskirts of our friend group there. Meeting with her that day, I promised to myself there was no way I was going to bring up John in front of her.
So how's John?
New York City coffee house.
I don't know. I don't hear from him as much as I used to.
Really? But you two were so close.
I messed things up. I caught feelings and asked if we could be monogamous. He told me I was being clingy.
Oh my god.
But I told him I could be okay with him sleeping with other women as long as they were in other cities. I don't see why he would need to sleep with so many people in LA. He said okay, but then he slept with more people at that time.
Oh my god.
There was this one morning where I slept with him, and then I'm pretty sure he changed the sheets and slept with someone else. Who knows? Maybe he changed the sheets twice and slept with 3 girls that day.
I changed those sheets. He paid me $200 to do it.
It's okay, though. It's just who he is. I still love him.
You do?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes he sends me a meme, and it basically makes my entire day. I sit around all day staring at my phone, hoping that he'll send me one.
How often does he send you a meme?
Like, once every 2 weeks.
I knew from my time spent with John that every once in a while he would send a meme to the women he was sleeping with. It was to make them feel special, but the truth was that he sent them all the same meme at the same time.
I'd rather share him with a lot of other women than not have him at all. But it's fine. It's okay.
Like, at least you weren't dumped.
You're right. Ellen just got dumped, you know?
She did?
Yes. They have such a weird way of handling things.
Don't you find it just so horrible?
I do, but what are you going to do about it?
Stop sleeping with John.
No, I don't want to do that. What we have now is healthy.
That was the moment I realized that I was one body in a graveyard of their discarded people. John's discarded people. A lot of those people were women who John had slept with, and then once they'd fallen in love with him, he'd thrown them away. There were other people in there that had offended other members of the group and been tossed as well.
I'm jealous.
Jealous.
Why does he still talk to you and he doesn't talk to me?
I wasn't over it.
I was his garbage.
I was John's garbage.
Well, did you ever apologize for what you did?
The letter was readily available in my pocket. I read it out loud to her.
My beloved friends, I feel it's time to ask for your forgiveness as a community. If I can forgive myself, I know that you can forgive me too. The simple explanation of what happened is that I acted like my worst self because John was pulling away. I think all of us have an idea that emotional pain can be easily set aside with enough mind power. That mindset did me a disservice. I tried to use quick fixes to solve enormous problems and didn't realize how intense my abandonment issues were until I told that lie to Sharon. It's hard to speak the love I have for all of you and the amount of regret I have for how I hurt you, although the person who I hurt more than anyone is myself. Please know that even in the height of this crisis that I caused, not one day has passed when I didn't feel authentic love and gratitude for all of you. You were never taken for granted.
Your love taught me what it means to really connect with another person and what true friendship really is.
I know I am going to make many more mistakes in my life, but I will not make the same ones that hurt all of you.
That's a promise.
We have all done things out of character that have scared other people and ourselves.
I'm so incredibly proud of the work I've done to fix myself.
Fix myself.
I don't expect to be welcomed back in the same way as I was before.
I'm expecting some understandable trepidation from all of you.
I am moving back to LA next week, though.
And I truly hope that you give me the chance to slowly reintegrate with your beautiful community in a way that's much healthier for everyone involved than it was before.
Humbly, me.
I'd sent that 3 months after they cut me out.
You didn't move back to LA, though.
They never responded. not one of them, so I didn't go back.
All because of that text to Ellen? But it was so forgivable.
I think that Ellen has just been through so much that she couldn't handle it, and I think John just used it as an excuse to get rid of me.
Oh well, that's just them. Don't take it personally. What upset you if I show you the meme John sent me this morning? It's really funny.
I went home and played this really depressing game on my Nintendo Switch called Chris. At the start of the game, the character you're playing as is so grief-laden that she falls to her knees every time you press A to make her jump. It looked satisfying, so I tried it in real life, but doing so really hurt my knees. It made such a loud crash on the ground that my downstairs neighbor started banging on the ceiling with a broom handle. As I listened to her crashing around below me, praying that she wouldn't call the superintendent, my phone chimed. It was Logan. It said,
Hey, do you want to watch a movie?
this is the part where I always forget my lines, you guys. The movie we watched, if you can believe it. Nope. We're doing a lot. I told him everything. He listened, and he wasn't driven away. And then we watched a movie. And that was the end of the scene. The movie we watched, if you can believe it, was The Lord of the Rings. The Fellowship of the Ring, to be precise. Watching it, I was struck by the similarity between John and the One Ring. Being connected to someone like John is like being the ring bearer. The thing you possess is sickeningly seductive. It's powerful enough to make you overlook anything. You're chosen. I was chosen. I was loved by someone who was selective beyond measure, and he selected me. The other members of the group followed suit. Losing a friend like that is like losing the ring. You feel like you'll die without it. You go to all ends to get it back, but once it's gone, it's gone. And I'm starting to realize that maybe that's a good thing. Watching the movie with a good friend by my side, for one moment, I'm able to transport myself into Middle-earth. In this moment, I am the ring bearer. The friend next to me is my Samwise Gamgee. The ring is so heavy, and the string it hangs from leaves deep cuts on my neck. But I am determined to get to the gates of Mordor. I am determined to destroy it. I've been trekking through the Misty Mountains for days. I've slept on the ground under trees and on top of rocks. At moments, I felt like giving up. I've wondered why this burden was given to me. But then I hear Gandalf's voice. Who do all who wants to see such tide? It's what to do. At that, I'm able to stand up again and look out over the view. I'm higher up than I realized. At this moment, for the first time ever, partway through my journey, I'm able to extend my arms out to the trees and the mountains of Middle-earth and say, I love and accept myself exactly as I am. And for that one brief moment, I'm able to believe it. When I say that I'm the ring bearer, I do not mean that I'm Frodo. It's useless. Okay, the first time he sees a ring wraith, he drops his sword, falls over backwards, and takes out the ring. I would never do that. I would stand on my feet and fight those bastards.